Well, the mainstream media is in a straight up panic yet again, this time over Donald Trump's transition team, which they claim has ignited a hostile takeover of the entire process. In fact, the truth of the matter is there's a lot to the story that the mainstream media is not telling you because Donald Trump has not activated any kind of takeover. In fact, what he's done is declare war on the freaking deep state, and rightfully so. That's why I can't wait until he gets in there and starts firing all these people. But take a look at what I'm talking about before I get into the details, because you guys got to see the whining from the mainstream media. Here is the Washington Post. Trump ignores transition rules. It's a hostile takeover, allies say. Now, the article goes on to state this. Donald Trump's transition team in his Mar-a-Lago resort has begun what a close ally calls a hostile takeover of the federal government. Since his victory, Trump has ignored many of the rules and practices intended to guide, keyword there, a seamless transfer of power and handover of the oversight of 2.2 million federal employees. Instead, the president-elect, who has pledged to fire thousands of civil servants and slash billions of dollars in spending, has so far almost fully cut out the government agencies his predecessors have relied on to take charge of the federal government. And there's a reason for that, by the way, but the mainstream media doesn't tell you that. But anyway, it goes on. Trump has yet to collaborate with the General Services Administration, known as the GSA, which is tasked with the complex work of handing over control to hundreds of agencies, because he has not turned in required pledges to follow the ethics rules. His transition teams have yet to set foot inside a single federal office. Dun, dun, dun. I want to play like that spooky music, if you will. But anyway, they're all like, oh my God, it's a hostile takeover. He's not following the rules. No, actually, it's more of a guidance, if you will. But the problem is, like I said earlier, the mainstream media isn't telling you what happened the first time and why Donald Trump is doing what he's doing. There's a lot that I have to share with you. But before I get into that, I got to give a shout out to my sponsor, NobleGoldInvestments.com. In fact, right now, gold has just hit another record high. But here's what's really interesting. It's been doing that a lot lately. In fact, it's up to about 33.26% for the year-end date. While election drama has everyone nervous, or has had everyone nervous until Donald Trump won, thankfully, gold investors are still sitting pretty well. It makes sense. For thousands of years, gold's been the grown-up in the room during uncertain times. That's why investors are moving towards Noble Gold at Noble Gold Investments. Not tomorrow. They're not doing it next month. They're doing it right now. So please don't miss out. In order to check it out, go to lisahavengold.com, fill out this information, click Get My Free Guide, and they're going to send you a free guide. Or you can call them at the number on the screen, 1-877-646-5347. Let them know you heard it on Lisa Haven. Because right now, they are giving away up to 10 of these 1-ounce Trump coins. They're absolutely amazing. Or even a 10-ounce silver American flag bar. Just make sure you let them know you heard it on Lisa Haven. And that is with approved accounts. With that, there's always a risk to investing. There's never a guarantee. If you want more information, click that more button or click the link in the description box below. All right. So let's dive into what is really going on here. While the mainstream media is saying that Donald Trump has ignited a hostile takeover and he's not following the rules, the truth of the matter is there's more to the story. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. And I want to start first with the Presidential Transition Act of 1963, because this is where it lies. And what this act is it basically is meant to aid incoming presidents in their transition of power, right? So if you scroll down a little bit, here's the purpose of the act. The Congress declares it to be the purpose of this act to promote the orderly transfer of the executive power in connection with the expiration of the term of office of a president and the inauguration of a new president. The national interest requires that such transitions in the office of president be accomplished so as to assure continuity in the faithful execution of the laws and in the conduct of the affairs of the federal government, both domestic and foreign. Any disruption occasioned by the transfer of the executive power could produce results detrimental to the safety and well-being of the U.S. and its people. Accordingly, it is the intent of the Congress that appropriate actions be authorized and taken to avoid or minimize any disruption. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, putting it very briefly, but in its original intent and original form, the PTA made the outgoing administration responsible for assisting their successors, whether they're friend or foe, didn't matter. It was not, however, ever designed to be an opportunity for bureaucrats like the FBI and the GSA to impose their will on the new president, which is exactly what is happening today, and which is why Donald Trump, rightly so, is using his own people to transition to power of the presidency. This is absolutely amazing. But let me show you where I'm kind of grabbing some of this information from. And I think this article on Amuse there on X published this, and it really puts everything in detail. But its headline, Reining in the Permanent Bureaucrats, Trump's Fight Against the Weaponized Transition Process. Now, here's what it says about the PTA, kind of a brief overall of it. But the PTA was intended as a tool, just a tool. That's it. A tool for the president-elect, empowering the incoming administration with the knowledge and logistical capabilities to steer a vast and complex ship of the federal government. It mandated that the outgoing president and their administration provide all necessary resources and cooperation. In other words, Joe Biden should be the one providing all necessary resources and cooperation. But that is not the case today. Instead, thanks not to Congress, but to the insidious evolution of bureaucratic regulations drafted by civil servants that weren't elected, the burden has shifted. It is now the incoming administration that must jump through hoops, agreeing to a plethora of rules, memorandum, and bureaucratic demands before the outcome administration is even compelled to cooperate. This is not what was intended by the PTA. Hundreds of regulations have emerged, turning a straightforward process of assistance into a labyrinth negotiation, one where unelected civil servants hold the cards, right? And this is, again, not the intent. It goes on. It is not designed to be an opportunity for entrenched bureaucrats to impose their will on the new president, nor to enforce compliance with the terms they set before any help is given. And this is what they're doing. And let me show you what I mean by that, because there's three agencies that are kind of spearheading this. But during Donald Trump's 2016, 2017, when he ran for office, right, he experienced issues with these transition teams, particularly, right, the GSA, that is the General Service Administration, which is the one that the mainstream media is crying about right now because Donald Trump is not working with them. Well, particularly that, the FBI, which nobody trusts, and the DOJ, right? These are the ones that are tasked with, I guess, helping quote unquote him during his transition. But during his first term, Trump's transition team, Trump for America, faced betrayal when the GSA improperly handed over thousands of emails from the transition period to special counsel Robert Mueller without proper authorization, violating privacy and attorney-client privileges. It was a clear signal that the GSA, an agency ostensibly dedicated to facilitating the transition, had instead been co-opted to undermine it. So tell me, why the hell would Donald Trump use the GSA again when they handed over thousands of emails, which they weren't allowed or supposed to do, to Robert Mueller without proper authorization, which turned out to be an entire sham, this whole Russia collusion thing? But it goes on. Reports from Congress and the Justice Department Inspector General's office reveal that in 2016, government bureaucrats abused their role in the transition process to also spy on and subvert the Trump operation. A 2020 Senate report detailed how the GSA's agreement with the 2016 Trump team specified that transition records would not be retained. Despite that, GSA officials, at the urging of the FBI and the Office of Special Counsel, nonetheless decided to preserve and disclose those records to various investigative entities, all while concealing these facts from the Trump team. The GSA even reached out to the FBI asking if it should retain the records, directly contravening the explicit terms of the agreement. The team Trump later discovered the unauthorized retention. The GSA refused to provide copies of these records and instead turned them over to investigators without any legal process, such as a subpoena or warrant. Cry me a river, Washington Post, when you want to call Donald Trump a hostile takeover of the transition process. This is why people don't listen to the mainstream media. Nothing in that article really even utterly mentions any of that. No. We just want Donald Trump to follow the process that he did last time, so they can gather all the information and turn it over to the FBI and use it against him just like they did the last time. Completely and utterly what they were not intended to do, they did. Here goes the GSA. I'm going to give this over to the FBI, and I'm going to ask the FBI in the process if I need to retain this information, just in case. We get a nod. The Democrats are all a part of that, and the mainstream media. This is why nobody listens to them. They want Donald Trump. They want the same thing to happen last time, this time, and Donald Trump says, I'm not an idiot. You're not touching my stuff. Here's what he's actually doing to give you an idea. And I praise Donald Trump for this, but here it is. And this is part of that same article, but Trump's team is bypassing the traditional channels, seeking independence from a federal system that has been weaponized against them. Private firms are handling the security, and no government servers will carry their communications, thank God. This is the act of a team that understands it must protect itself from the very institutions that were supposed to support it. Not only that, the fight with the DOJ over MOUs for security clearances also illustrates how far these bureaucratic states have strayed from this vision, right? And here's another thing that they did to the Trump administration. The FBI, which once served as an institution above the fray of partisan politics, has shown its hand in dealing with Trump. Spying on his 2016 campaign, they embedded female honeypots within his transition and used national security briefings as a pretext to disqualify his appointees, particularly, Mike Flynn. And the Justice Department Inspector General found that former FBI Peter Strzok even sent another FBI agent to an intelligence briefing with Trump and Flynn as part of an effort to build on their Russia collusion hoax case against them. These actions are not the behavior of a neutral party. They're just not. Facilitating a democratic handover, they are mechanisms of bureaucracy desperate to maintain and retain control. That is absolutely what is going on here. And President Trump is right, because now he's not allowing even the FBI to conduct these clearances. Take a look. Trump is rightfully wary of allowing the FBI to conduct background checks on his prospective cabinet members, thankfully, and senior officials. Instead, he is using outside firms that are handling these reviews, and he's identifying any potential security risk without the overhang of politically motivated interference. Man, Donald Trump is one smart dude. He is really, really smart, right? And I am very proud that this is something that he's doing. Trump's strategy to stand firm and reject the GSA, the FBI, and DOJ, to reject them really proves that he's going to do what he said he came out to do, that he's going to be the man that he set out to be, and he is really and truly going to clean the deep state. I don't think he did a powerful enough job of it last time, but I'd be damned that this time I believe he is absolutely going to do that, right? He doesn't entrust these people with his phones, his computers, or his access to sensitive communications because the likes of the GSA and FBI and DOJ have already used it against him in his first transition to power. That's why the mainstream media is crying. Not one word of that mentioned by the mainstream media. They're just calling it a hostile takeover and acting like that is done. And Donald Trump's not only protecting his team there, but he's also protecting his privacy rights to his donors. Take a look at this. This is on the Federalist. The Trump transition team is right to protect their donors' privacy. So this is something else that they're doing as well. But here's what it says. The Trump's transition team has chosen to raise funds entirely from private donations, sparing taxpayer dollars and avoiding the red tape. Predictably, Democrats are exploiting this decision to launch a renewed attack on the president-elect's supporters. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse is amplifying baseless claims of nefarious influence by Trump donors, while Senator Elizabeth Warren sent a letter to the Biden administration expressing alarm about the Trump's transition team rejection of past transition practice. You know why Donald Trump is doing that? Because he's not funded by foreign sources. He has rejected that. He has completely rejected that. He has got his donors and he's got his personal funds, and that's it. He doesn't want to be controlled in any way, shape, or form by these outside forces. And this is why we have got him elected into the presidential office and why Americans elected him. This is why America elected him, to put that more clear, into office, because he's doing the right thing. And I can't wait to see him in. Anyhow, I wanted to share that with all of you. I love you all. Thanks again for tuning in. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.